Hey, JK here, and I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me. Well, thank you so much for joining again. This is the official Week 19 recap, and you might be wondering why I said official. I've been racking my brain for the last 30 minutes trying to figure out why I have folders numbered from Week 1 to Week 19. However, this is Week 19 in fantasy baseball. All of my apps, all of my teams are saying it's Week 19. Where am I getting off that this is Week 20? It was the stinking All-Star break, the wonky scoring period where it was half a week and then a full week, or a full week then half a week, had me all screwed up and it got my numbering off. So this will be the official Week 19 fantasy recap. We're going to be including the brand new team, which I'm going to name at the end of this video. We are also going to be talking about all the excitement still leading into the playoffs. And not wasting more time, I'm super excited to talk to you about it because Week 19 started out with a bang. My funky junky joker monkeys were on a 5-game winning streak. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now at 6 games. I won again this week, 499 to 247. I had the highest scoring team in the league this week by only like 9 or 10. But still, I would have beaten everyone else, including the number 1 team in the league. So that's super exciting. I am now 1 game behind the 6th place team. So 1 game out of playoff contention. My record stands at 10-9, and I'm playing against the number 2 team in the league this week. If I can beat him, I will be in playoff contention. This team was abysmal. I'm on a 6-game winning streak. Therefore, at one point in time, I was 4-9. That's crazy to think about. I only had 3 players score above 30 points for me this week. Everyone else had at least double-digit scores. Well, except for 6. There were 6 pitchers who only scored single digits or had a negative score for me. Those were either relievers or guys who just got tagged. Matt Liberatore, Johan Oviedo, those 2 guys specifically, Chris Murphy. So we'll give those guys a pass. So out of everyone on my team, there were only 6 people who did not score in double digits. And only 3 of the rest of my team only had 30 points. That's phenomenal. That's an absolute team effort. In an effort to ensure that I hit my 13 start limit, I did pick up Cole Irvin, who had a pretty good game against his old team, the Oakland Athletics, and Matt Liberatore, who got absolutely obliterated. I also made sure to grab Brandon Williamson for this upcoming week and Tommy Pham because he's on an absolute tear. I dropped Matt Liberatore, Cole Irvin, Steven Matz, and Rich Hill. From one high to a low, we're going to move to the Cheese Weasels. I continue to fall in the standings and have actually dropped to 6th place overall, sitting at just 100 points. That is so disappointing because if you go back just 4 or 5 weeks, I was talking about how I was going to be pushing to take over 2nd, 3rd place, something of the sort, and I was close to 115 points. I continue to lose ground in several categories, all having to do with pitching. Complete games, shutouts, losses, blown saves, ERA, and WHIP. I'm still dead last in overall batting average and OPS. I'm still leading in strikeouts, but I'm keeping it close in hits, wins, saves, and holds. Some of the highlights from this week include Zach Geloff going 10 for 24 over the course of the week, Trey Turner having a 2-home run game, and in their 2 starts throughout the week, Merrill Kelly and Tyler Glasnow each got me 14 strikeouts. Someone that did not help me this week was Will Smith, closer for the Texas Rangers, who blew 2 saves and did not help my ERA or WHIP. From one high to a low to a This week the Kent Murphy Dingers ended up with another tie, 5-all. I really feel like I should have won because of the pitching coming up with clunkers throughout the week. Logan Webb, Julio Urias, and of course Carlos Estevez, all having ERAs 6.5 or higher. I think Estevez probably hurt me the most because he pitched the fewest innings and gave up a few runs in that blown save. This week I ended up losing ERA 4.35 to 4.3. It was very close. I'm very frustrated, but it's all good because I am back in playoff contention in 6th spot. overall record of 7-7-5 allows me to be in striking distance by playing the guy number 1 in my division this week, so I can close the gap from 1.5 games to hopefully just half of a game. Some of the performances that helped me to this tie this week included Kerry Carpenter and Nolan Arenado both hitting 2 home runs. Kerry Carpenter and Joey Meneses both having at least 5 RBIs each, and Joey Meneses and Jose Altuve having strong weeks with 400-plus batting averages. Nick Pivetta also got me 15 strikeouts, and Matt Brash and Evan Phillips both had 2 saves for me. Like usual, the adds and drops this week were pretty pitcher dominant. I grabbed Graham Ashcraft, Hyun-Jin Ryu, Christopher Sanchez, and Jesus Luzardo. I also picked up Kerry Carpenter, who's been great for me, and Ezekiel Duran. And the drops included Christopher Sanchez twice in 1 week, which takes some talent, Graham Ashcraft, Mackenzie Gore, and Yuri Perez. Now, before you immediately go down and tell me how silly I am and how bad of a fantasy manager I am for dropping him, his first 2 outings from being called back up did not go well. And I thought for sure the Dodgers were not going to offer him any consolation prize just for being a good young rookie. Well, they offered up 10 strikeouts. Wow. I didn't expect that. So, yeah, I look silly. I look real silly. I also dropped Anthony Santander. And now the new team on the block, the team that we took over 2 weeks ago, the team that we are officially making ours. The new team name is Peach Creek Purgatory. So as you can tell from the logo, it is a nod to a show that I used to watch when I was younger, Ed, Ed and Eddie. If you do have memories of it, or if you are reminded of the show, tell me your favorite episode. Let me know what your favorite character was. But this week, we were taking on the number 1 team in the league. And also, the guy who was over that team was the commissioner. Now, I already talked to you about how he got mad at me last week because I wouldn't trade him, Justin Verlander, for Aaron Savali. Because Aaron Savali is so young and Verlander is so old and he's not good anymore. Yeah, same guy that got mad at me because I was asking for Soto or J-Ram. I like the 1-2 punch, but I also like the stolen bases. Freddie Freeman, guys like that. Said I was borderline insane for asking for those. Well, I was playing him this week. And guess what? I won 7-2. We did tie in 1 category, but I dropped him from 1st to 4th. So enough about him. Back to my team. Peach Creek Purgatory, like I said, did win this week 7-2. We brought our record up to 76, 99, and 15. We are still 8th overall, and we are 13.5 games out of playoff contention. Do I think we can make it? Absolutely, I have the confidence. Am I going to be mad if we don't? Not really, because I've owned this team for all of 10 days. I do hope to look forward to next year because we do have 17 keepers. And with some of these ads this week, you'll see why that might be a promising outlook. But before we get to the keepers for next year and the ads and drops for this week, let's talk about who helped me get to this 7-2 win. Keeper Ruiz, Marcus Semien, and Josh Lowe all had 7 RBIs, and Ezekiel Tovar had 2 home runs. My pitching overall was really, really good. It was quality to the point where I won ERA and WHIP this week. As usual for all of my leagues, pitching dominates the adds and drops, so we will go ahead and get to the only fielder I grabbed, Tommy Pham. Man's on fire. He is going to be doing well for a very, very talented Arizona Diamondbacks team. Go ahead and grab him if you can. Now let's get to the pitchers. Tyler Holton, Ryan Pepiot, Nick Pivetta, Seth Lugo, John Means, and the young pitcher for the Braves who was dominant last year, who was coming off the IL, Kyle Wright. And it only cost me $2 in my waiver wire budget. And now time for the drops. I did have to cut bait with Marco Luciano, the shortstop in the Giants organization. He's going to be shut down for a few weeks, and I just could not afford to hold him, not only in an NA spot, but an IL spot. I also let go of Griffin Canning, who ended up biting me in the butt because he had a really great outing, taking over in a bulk relief appearance. Seth Lugo, Ryan Pepiot. I also cut bait with Tanner Scott, Jordan Hicks, and Liam Hendricks. Transitioning to the ESPN leagues, Russell My Jim Jams came up with a huge win this week, 10 categories to 3 categories to 3 categories, leaving my record at 114 wins, 141 losses, and 49 ties. We're currently in 8th place, 16.5 games out of playoff contention. While it's possible, I am also not going to beat myself up if we do not make it. I had multiple opportunities throughout the year to make a push and I just failed. I am going to be keeping track of the keepers that I may want for next year. Obviously, a lot can change over the course of a few months. Obviously, people can get hurt, people can be traded, whatever it may be. But again, Russell My Jim Jams did come up with a big win this week, and there were a few guys that helped us to that big win. CJ Abrams had 4 stolen bases, Brandon Nimmo had 3 home runs, and Joey Meneses had 6 RBIs. Pitching wise, Merrill Kelly, Nick Pivetta, and Max Scherzer all got me at least 14 strikeouts. And then Matt Brash and Evan Phillips both got me at least 2 saves. The adds and drops this week were pretty short. I grabbed Jorge Soler, Nolan Jones, AJ Puck, and Brian Wu for his upcoming start, which is happening tonight against the White Sox. Let's hope it's going well. I haven't checked. The drops included AJ Puck and Giovanni Gallegos. And finally, South Harmon Institute of Technology came with a big win themselves, 10 categories to 5 categories to 3 categories, bringing my record to 157 wins, 126 losses, and 59 ties. Overall, I am 3rd in the league and 2nd in my division. I am 13.5 games back from the guy 1st in my division. Some of the guys that helped me to this big win included Kerry Carpenter, Tommy Pham, and Josh Lowe, each having at least 2 home runs, and Nick Pivetta, Merrill Kelly, and Tyler Glasnow, each having at least 14 strikeouts for me. As we move to the adds and drops, you'll see it's not overloaded with all this pitching as usual. I do want to hit on a few of the adds, including Kerry Carpenter, Zach Geloff, and Kyle Wright. Those 3 guys I think are going to be pretty good for me moving forward. Potential keepers, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Kerry Carpenter has shown some skills as he is up to almost 20 home runs this year. Geloff is making noise, having a 4-hit game earlier this week, and Kyle Wright was dominant last year and coming back for a Braves team that regardless of how many runs he gives up, they're going to be able to produce runs. So he will be picking up lots of wins. Let's hope he can keep the ERA and the whip down and the strikeouts up to make himself the all-star youngster as he was last year. Well, that's the official Week 19 recap for the fantasy teams. I am so glad that you wanted to tune in and find out what was going on with my fantasy teams and figure out who the new team was. Again, thank you for joining in. I look forward to seeing you next week. This is Jay Cake, and I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me.